Hi everyone, so we are going to be looking at the digestive system. So this is the first body system that we'll be looking at. Let's have a look at the key knowledge from the study design. So we're looking at the specialization and organization of animal cells into tissues, organs, and systems with specific functions. And today we're looking at the digestive system. So what is the purpose of the digestive system? Why do we need a digestive system? Well, we want to be able to break down our food so it's small enough to be transported across the plasma membrane into our cells, and then our cells use it for a variety of reasons. So think back to when we looked at transport across the plasma membrane and how the plasma membrane is set up. So things need to be small enough to pass through. So for example, you're eating a potato. Hopefully you're not eating it raw like this. You have cooked it, but you're eating a potato. In that potato, there are starch molecules, which is a type of carbohydrate. Your body, your digestive system, digests these starch molecules and breaks it down into small sugar molecules called glucose. This glucose can then easily pass through the plasma membrane, which then enters your cell, and we use that glucose to create energy, which your body then uses for a variety of different reasons. So the digestive system is super important. It is a system that you probably already know a little bit about, because if you're like me, you like to eat food and you eat food every day. And so this is what your body does every day to provide you with energy. Bodies need a whole different variety of organic molecules or nutrients as we know them for very different reasons to help our body function. So I'm going to let you pause this slide just for a second, read over the different types of organic molecules and why they're important in our bodies. So I want to go over a little bit of background knowledge about enzymes, because enzymes are really important for the digestive system. And so I want you to know what enzymes are. We go into more detail about enzymes in year 12, but I believe you need to know what they are to fully understand the digestive system. So enzymes are made of proteins. They are catalysts for reactions, which means they speed up reactions or processes. These processes happen naturally, but they take a very long time. And your cells can't wait that long to get certain nutrients. So these proteins called enzymes speed them up. They are specific, so they will only catalyze one type of reaction, and they have an active site, which you can see here. So this is this specific shape, which is called an active site, and only a specific molecule will fit into that active site, and this enzyme will only catalyze a reaction for those specific molecules. An example is the enzyme lactase. Usually enzymes end in the three letters ASE. So the enzyme lactase breaks down lactose, so it's a sugar found in milk, so it can be absorbed by the body. So lactase is specific to lactose, that specific sugar, and it won't break down anything else. So if you're like me and you have lactose intolerance, your body is not producing this enzyme lactase, and therefore you can't break down this sugar called lactose. So enzyme function is affected by different factors. Really quick, I just want to introduce you to a few different things. So it's affected by pH and it's affected by temperature. So each enzyme has an optimal specific pH that it works best at. Outside of this range, it's less affected, or it can be denatured, meaning that that protein, its shape changes. And as we know, enzymes are specific and they have a specific active site. If they change their shape, the substrate that it is breaking down, that molecule that it is breaking down or catalyzing, it can no longer fit into that active site, so the enzyme can't work. So for example, we've got pepsin over here. Its pH is about 2. We have trypsin over here. Its optimal pH is about 8. So it can work a bit lower than 8 and a bit higher than 8, but once it gets too far out of that range, it's not going to work at all. So enzymes are also affected by temperature. So again, enzymes have a specific optimal temperature. Outside of this range, less effective or can be denatured and doesn't work. Here's an example. So the optimal temperature for this enzyme is about 47 maybe. After that, it starts to denature, so it doesn't work. Before that, it is less effective. But all I want you to know here is that pH and temperature affect enzyme activity. Enzymes have a specific optimal pH and a specific optimal temperature. Outside of this range, they're less effective or they denature, so their shape changes and we cannot use them. Let's look at the types of digestions. There are two types that I want you to know. The mechanical digestion, so breaking down food through physical movement such as chewing and churning. We're going to find out where this happens. Or there's chemical digestion, so breaking down these macromolecules, these molecules in food by enzymes, acid, and bile. So we've looked at enzymes, right? So this is a protein molecule. Protease enzymes break down protein into amino acids. Amylase enzymes break down starch or other carbohydrates into sugar or glucose or maltose, for example. Lipids are broken down by lipase enzymes into glycerol or fatty acids. And then our body can use these simpler, smaller molecules wherever it needs. There are 4 different parts of digestion. We start with ingestion. So food is being taken into your body. Then digestion. That is breaking down food mechanically and chemically, like we just saw, as your food travels through your whole digestive tract, so traveling all through here. Then we have absorption. So once your food is broken down into small molecules, it's absorbed through this digestive tract into your bloodstream and then transported to different cells all around your body. And lastly, elimination. Right at the end, undigested parts of food are eliminated from the body as feces. Go through all these different parts of the digestive system. They seem like a lot, but a lot of this is going to be just common knowledge. So you obviously have a digestive system. You know what your body does to break down food. So I'm going to go through each part, and I want you to know the function of each part. Let's start with number 1, the oral cavity over here. So this is your mouth. It's the beginning of the digestive system. You undergo mechanical digestion with your teeth, so chewing. Saliva contains an enzyme called amylase, which breaks down carbohydrates, has a pH about 6 to 8. And once you've chewed your food, that food is now called bolus. Then we have the salivary glands. So saliva is produced, which enters your mouth and your esophagus. This helps soften the food for digestion, and it also contains those enzymes such as amylase. Next, we have the esophagus. So over here, it is a hollow tube that connects the oral cavity to the stomach over here. And it moves food by peristalsis, as you can see in this GIF. So that is just the muscle pushing the food down your esophagus. Then you have your stomach, right? So the muscles around your stomach will churn the food, so another type of mechanical digestion. Protease enzymes such as pepsin are produced and they break down proteins. Digestive juices are produced and they create an acidic environment in your stomach. So it's very acidic, about 1 to 3. And if you remember back when we looked at the different graphs of the optimal pH for enzymes, pepsin had an optimal pH of 2, which, as you can see here, if the stomach has a pH of 1 to 3, obviously pepsin is going to work best in this range. So optimal pH of 2. Now we have the liver over here. The liver produces bile, which is kind of like a green-brown fluid, and it helps emulsify fat. That means it helps break down fat into smaller parts. It also neutralizes stomach acid, because we know that the stomach has a pH of 1 to 3. So bile produced in the liver will help neutralize that, so that as food enzyme enters your small intestine, it is not too acidic. It also has other functions such as regulating metabolism, removing toxins, storing glucose as glycogen, all of which we're going to learn about when we look at different body systems. Next, we have the gallbladder, which is this little green organ over here. So this stores the bile. So the liver produces the bile, the gallbladder stores the bile, ready to be released into the small intestine. So as food is leaving your stomach, the gallbladder will release the bile onto the food to help neutralize it, ready to go into the small intestine. Next, we have the pancreas. Now, your pancreas has many different functions. One of them is to produce enzymes that are released into the small intestine. These enzymes continue to break down the food. Other functions are regulating blood glucose levels, which we will learn all about. But for now, I just want you to know that your pancreas produces enzymes. And now we have the small intestine. So, food, once it enters your small intestine, is called chyme or chyme, however you want to pronounce it. It is split into 3 sections, so the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. As you can see here, this first part is the duodenum, second part the jejunum, and the last part is the ileum. Enzymes from the pancreas, as we mentioned, and bile from the gallbladder are released. And here is where chemical digestion occurs, so breaking down of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The cells that line the small intestine then absorb those nutrients. So we have that chemical digestion. Those macromolecules are broken down into smaller molecules that are able to be absorbed through the small intestine, so the cells in the small intestine, and then transported into the bloodstream to go to the rest of your body wherever it needs it. Some wastes are also absorbed here, which will then be removed from your body later on. But mostly, for the most part, the small intestine is broken up into 3 parts, and this is where chemical digestion and absorption of nutrients occurs. We have seen this image before where we looked at surface area to volume ratio of the small intestine. So the small intestine obviously is very curved. There's lots of surface area compared to the volume. So this allows for maximum absorption of nutrients, because this is how we are getting those nutrients that we have digested into our body so we can use it. We have villi, so small folds on the small intestine lining. And then on this villi that we have cells, epithelial cells that have microvilli. So we have a large or high surface area to volume ratio so we can absorb these nutrients. Once your food or the chyme leaves the small intestine, it goes on to the large intestine, which is this larger bit over here. Here, absorption of water, minerals, vitamins happens, and it is also split into 3 sections, so the cecum, colon, and rectum. So we've got cecum, colon, and rectum over here. This is where undigested food becomes solid, so we're going from liquid to solid, and feces is formed. There's also a large amount of bacteria here, and they help digest food by breaking down the food even more and producing vitamins. And now we've reached the final part of the digestive system. So we have the appendix over here, and if you can see it, it's really small. It's this really small bit right here. It's considered to be a vestigial organ. So this organ is not something we use now, but it's left over from a time when we did use it. It is believed to have played a role in the immune system, or it might still play the role in the immune system and contain beneficial bacteria, but research is still being done about the appendix. We don't really need the appendix. Sometimes people have to get their appendix removed, but for the most part, most people are fine. It doesn't really do much that we know of yet. And then we have the rectum, so that's that last part. It stores feces for elimination. So this is the last section of the large intestine. This is where feces is stored before you go to the toilet. And then lastly, the anus, which is the site of elimination of feces. The feces leaves your body here into the toilet, and digestion is done. I'm going to play a video for you now of food traveling through the digestive system. So it's an animation. As you're watching this, think about all the different parts of the digestive system that we've just looked at and see if you can name any of those parts and the function.
The digestive process starts in your mouth when you chew. Chewing breaks the food into pieces, while saliva mixes with food. Once you begin swallowing, the process becomes automatic. Muscles in your esophagus propel food down to your stomach. A ring-like muscle called the lower esophageal sphincter relaxes and lets food pass into the stomach. The stomach produces enzymes and acids, and stomach muscles mix food and liquid with digestive juices. Then, the stomach slowly empties this semi-fluid composition called chyme into the first section of the small intestine, called the duodenum. The pancreas makes enzymes that break down carbohydrates, fats, and proteins and delivers them to the duodenum through small tubes called ducts. The liver makes a digestive juice called bile. That helps digest fats and some vitamins and store it in the gallbladder. When you eat, your gallbladder squeezes bile through the ducts into your duodenum. The peristalsis actions of the small intestine mix food with digestive juices and push the mixture forward for further digestion. Water and essential nutrients pass through the small finger-like projections called villi into the bloodstream. As peristalsis continues, the waste products of the digestive process move into the large intestine. More water absorbs here. Bacteria in the large intestine helps break down remaining nutrients and materials and changes the waste from the liquid into the stool. Peristalsis helps move the stool into your rectum. The anus is the last part of the digestive tract. It is 2 inches long. The anus is surrounded by sphincter muscles that are important in allowing control of stool. It lets you know whether the contents are liquid, gas, or solid.
We've looked at the digestive system in humans, and that's what I want you to know. I want you to know the digestive system for humans, the different organs that we use and where it is and their functions. But obviously, other animals also have a digestive system. They too eat food, they need to digest those foods, take in those nutrients and use them, and then eliminate waste. So animals with different diets have digestive systems that are adapted to the diet they eat. So for example, carnivores that eat meat, which is easily digested, therefore have a short digestive tract. As we can see over here, we have a fox, which is a carnivore. Its digestive tract much smaller than a herbivore, which is much longer because plant material is more difficult to digest, so there needs to be more in the digestive system to do that, whereas meat, easily digested, can pass through very quickly, so we don't need a long digestive system. Same with this animal here. I can't remember what it is, but it eats insects, so it also has a digestive system that is specific to its diet. Or a rabbit, which has a long digestive system again because it is a herbivore. So as usual, please write down your questions and bring them to class, and I will see you there.